To talk more about the importance of raising children's literacy, we are now connected with Arleen Amidjaja, a children's book author who already spent obviously years in this industry.
That's right, but not only her, we also have another special guest. She's an author who started publishing her books from a really young age. She is now 17 years old, but she has published 55 books to date. Her name is Fayanna Ailisha. Good morning, Arleen and Fayanna.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's so great to see you guys because I'm a reader myself. I love to read. I read nonfiction, I read fiction, I read every day. And I think, it always fascinates me when I read, but I think that has been developed since such a very, very early age. When I was a kid, I couldn't even remember that. So my first question would be to Arleen, but can you help unpack it for us? Why is it important to develop a love of reading since an early age?
Yeah, it is very important and I can't stress it enough. Even though among all living things, humans are the smartest, human babies are not the smartest babies. Puppies, baby dogs, only need 1 month to learn to walk. And baby horses, foals, can walk 1 day after they were born. But humans, we need 1 year before we can walk. And that is because when human babies were born, their brains were the least developed. And these further important developments have to take place outside the womb. This is why we often hear that, the first 6 years of human lives are called the golden years. During this time, the brain is like a sponge that is ready to absorb everything. Yes. And it is during this time we can either do our parts to make sure that the brain is well developed or not.
That's true.
One way to develop the brain optimally is to read to children before they can read. You see, there are 2 ways to learn to read. A way that is commonly used here, which is actually wrong, and a way that is not so commonly used, but is actually the right way. The common but wrong way is this. We wait until the children is old enough. Then we show them the alphabets. Then we ask them to memorize the alphabets and tell them the sound. Okay, this is A, the sound is A. This is B, the sound is B, and so on. And then teach them to spell. What happens here is the brain is trained to memorize things. We spoon-feed information into them and they memorize it. The not so common but best way is this. As early as possible, we read to the children. At this time, they don't know any alphabets. But when there is the word box, they see a line and a circle.
Yes.
And they hear the mother say box. When there is the word B, they see another line and a circle, and they hear the mother say B. When there is the word bike, they see, again, a line and a circle, and they hear the mother say bike.
Right.
After a while, their smart brains will make the connections. Without even knowing that the line and the circle is actually the letter B, their brains have already analyzed the repeated patterns and discovered the sound of that particular shape.
Right.
What happens here is the brain is trained to analyze patterns to discover the connections and the solutions. You see, the best inheritance that we can ever give to our children is not house or car or companies or money. It's the brilliant mind. Because brain is basically like a muscle.
Yes.
You have to use it to make it bigger. When our children are exposed to books early, they went through this brain training period. So their brains are used to do a lot of analyzing instead of just memorizing. So they will grow up to be thinking, creative, analytical people instead of people who are, easily provoked because they're not used to.
Of course, well said. Well said, Arleen. Okay, so I'm going to go to Fayanna first. Now, how about you, Fayanna? Okay, so I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that she is only 17. She wrote 55 books already. Let's just recap a little bit. Rasha, when we were 17, what did we do?
I just read. I don't write.
She wrote a bunch of books. Okay, now actually, did you start to get interested? You fell in love in books from the early age, and did your parents actually read to you when you were still a child, maybe?
Okay, well, when I was a baby, my parents always read a book to me. It didn't matter that I was not understand, but my parents regularly read to me about the story from baby books, fairy tales, fable, comics, and so on. Maybe because I was surrounded by books since I was a baby, then I love books very much. When I was around 1 or 2 years old, my parents always bring me to the bookshop every weekend. I choose my favorite books and I was enjoy the picture in the books. And then when I was around 4 years old, I have been able to read, so I read my book by myself. I have 100 collection of book in my room, and I read a book every day. Then when I was in 6 years old, I was interested to writing a story. This is maybe because I really enjoy the story in the books, and I start to
Right.
think that I want to have my own story.
Yes.
Yes, on that time I think about why didn't I don't write my own story and then I could have my own book. Gitu.
Right.
So I start to write, and at the beginning I was writing by handwriting in a letter. I wrote so many stories in my notebook, and one day my mom found my story in my notebook. She read the story and she said to me that she amazed that in my age at that time, around 6 or 7 years old, I could write a complete story, easy to understand, good structure, good storyline, and also complete with the moral of the story.
Wow.
My mom said that my capability to write a story at that time was above the average the children in the same age.
Right.
Then my parents started to teach me how to write a story in the laptop, and after that I write my story in the laptop. And one day, my mom found about the writing competition that held by a famous children books publisher, and my mom challenged me to join with that competition. And I was 7 years old at that time. Meanwhile, the competition was for 7 until 12 years old. The competition was about creating this true story about hobbies. The story of the winner competition. The winner of the competition will be published through the book. And I was very interested. I joined the competition, nothing to lose. I didn't expect anything. I wrote my true story about my hobby and magician, and you know what? I won the competition. I became the second winner, and that is my first book that published in bookstore. I have my own book since I was 7 or 8 years old, and I was very happy to see my own book in the bookshop like Gramedia, Gunung Agung, and so on. After that, the writing activities becomes my habits, and I continue to write. And until now, I have published 55 books.
Wow, that is amazing. We'll get into that later, Fayanna. I'm still very curious to know more.
Okay.
I would like to go back to Arleen for a minute. But now we've heard the stories from Fayanna, also from Rahma herself, and from you earlier about the importance of reading books at an early age, right? But can you also share with us how to instill the love of reading and the love of books for people that can help to develop those individuals as well as society as a whole?
Yes, our country, we're not yet a reading society, but it's not entirely our fault. If we compare, for example, the US gained independence in 1776, and the first television broadcast was in 1928. So there was a period of about 150 years in which the people were already living in peace, but they didn't have anything to watch. So automatically they had time to develop the love of reading. In our country, in Indonesia, we gained our independence in 1945. And the first TVRI broadcast was in 1962. So we really didn't get the chance to develop our love for reading before, and then before then we were given something to watch already before we started to love to read. So there are basically 3 steps to develop a reading society. One, we have to start as early as possible. We already talked about why this is important, and if we start as early as possible, then reading will not be something unusual to do. It will be just a part of our life, just like how we brush our teeth. You know, we never think whether or not we should brush our teeth Like how we take a bath without thinking, right? And how we just eat, just be a part of everyday life. Second is we have to focus on long-term consistency and not short-term intensity. This is actually the same thing with everything else that we do. For example, when we try to lose weight, if you exercise for 4 hours today and then stop exercising until next month or the new year, then it's no use, right? The best is to maybe do 15 minutes of exercise a day, consistently every day or every other day. The same with when you read to your kids. Do not force your kids to read for hours and hours. Reading should be a joy. It should be a fun family bonding time. So try to do it just 15 minutes a day. It's okay, it's a day or two. It's not the days that matter, it's the years. Just be consistent, focus on the process. The result will take care of itself. Make reading into a habit. Third step is you must show, don't tell. I'm a big fan of Maria Mori, the founder of the Montessori curriculum. She once said, do not worry that you're not watching your kids all the time, but worry that they're watching you all the time. Children basically learn their parents. Children copy their parents. So if you want your children to grow up to be a reader, don't tell them to be a reader, but show them that you are. Put books all over, read in front of them. That way they will think that reading is just a part of his life. Reading is simply the natural tool.
Yes, very true. They
Very
see,
true.
They copy.
Yeah,
Obviously.
and I cannot wait to have my own children, Arleen, and to set example of that and to be able to raise a very reading literate children of my own.
Of course.
Now, wanted to go back to Fayanna. It's amazing. It really fascinated to me, honestly, that you have been writing 55 books while you're still just 17 years old. And from what I know, people usually draws their own inspiration, life inspiration and ideas from their life. And you're still a young person yourself, so can you tell us a bit about your process and how and where do you draw your inspiration and ideas from?
Okay, maybe I will share my biggest challenge. As a teenager, I have so many activities. I am an activist in some organizations such as Children Forum in Depok and West Java Province, and also in national level. Children's Forum organization is the organization that managed by Minister of Women Empowerment and Children Protection. And I also active in some platform of youth development, national education ambassador, influencer, public speaker, film production. I am the scriptwriter and director too. And of course, my daily activities in school. And all of the activities consume much time. So I have to manage my 24 hours in my daily time, and I have to balance it with my me time and also my time to interact and play with friends and writing a books. That's really challenging situation for me. The way I do to overcome the problem in time management is develop the detailed schedule and goal timeline, create a target and build a commitment to comply with the target. And for the inspiration, I usually to read a book and then watching a film, watching Netflix. I can get inspiration for many other activities like that.
Of course. Obviously, because she's still young, 17 years old. Everywhere she sees, everywhere she goes, she can get, inspiration easily. Now, this question goes out for the both of you. Ladies, what future plans do you have, and do you have any upcoming projects that you wish to fulfill? Fayanna, you can go first.
Okay, maybe I will share my advocacy. So I have education advocacy. Name is Libat Emas. In Indonesia, it called Literasi Baca Tulis untuk Generasi Emas. This advocacy is aligned with my role as National Education Ambassador. And Libat Emas have many activities. Like I have my own home library at home. So if you guys want to come to my home and get to the library. So also, I built the habit in reading and writing with the children. Also create motivational session about reading and writing because I love to public speaking. I love to giving some story, and I used to tell my experience to my friends, and also I create social media content regarding to how to increase reading and writing skill. And so that's all from me.
Wow, that sounds a lot of good work
I
ahead of
know.
you.
She's got her project.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
pinned
it's
already.
amazing,
Which is good.
amazing projects. And what about you, Marlene? What are your upcoming projects?
My newest book will be out this month, titled The Stories of Ben and Julie. And I have posted several sneaks on my Arleen 315. And last week, good news that my newest manuscript has been accepted to be, it's a collection of animals. So in the near future, I will be conducting an audition illustrators. I will need 10 illustrators for this project.
Wow, very interesting, and congratulations, Marlene. And there you go, guys. If you're an illustrator for a children's book, please check out her website or her social media, and yeah, maybe you're going to be selected. All right, guys, unfortunately, that's all the time we have to talk with you guys. It was such an interesting talk.
Thank you so very much, ladies. All the best for you. Bye now.
Bye. Have yourself a good Friday.
Okay.